What's up, world? What's going on? How are we? I hope everyone is well. Lucy's over there on the couch. She's asleep. I hope she comes in. I hope she hangs. I really do. Happy Thursday. It's our last stream of the week. Shout out to everyone who hung out at our post-debate party last night. I was streaming with with Pasta and Fee from the Convo Couch. We did a collaborative stream, if you will, over on this channel. Before that, we were on their Twitch channel. What's up, Austin? Happy payday. Sam M. Hey, glad Tulsi took Kamala out. Well, unfortunately, Kamala was able to deflect from her criticisms because nobody held her accountable. I was happy to see that happen too, but I was really disappointed when all Kamala Harris did. In fact, I tweeted this. All Kamala Harris did was just go after Joe Biden. Tulsi Gabbard was like, hey, here's a legit criticism, Kamala Harris. What do you got? And Kamala Harris was like, hold that thought. Biden's bad. And the moderators didn't do anything. Moderators didn't say, hey, could you respond to Miss Gabbard's criticism? They didn't do that. They did, which should not be a surprise. But it's a shame. And that's not Tulsi's fault, mind you. But that was a bummer. Good morning, Ron, and congrats on the 20 subs. Thank you, everybody, so much for helping me get there, by the way. Thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody tuning into this show. I appreciate everybody tweeting me the articles. I appreciate everybody getting behind the concept of the show. It means so much. And we did recently cross 20,000, which is great. And hopefully we got a nice long lifeline left, if you will, as long as YouTube still lets us be here. I hope everyone is having a lovely morning. I'm having a good morning or a lovely afternoon, whatever's going on where you're at. It might be evening. It might be the next day. To be honest, I booked my flight to Australia yesterday, which, by the way, we're coming to Australia. And I think I lose like 2 days. It's kind of gnarly. I'm kind of nervous about it. I'm pretty sure I lose 2 days. Jules, it's 10 a.m. where you're at. Well, we are in the same time zone, which, by the way, everybody, I know I usually don't do this on the stream, but I wrote the news and poem right before the stream started here. I wrote the news and poem, so I'll share it with all of you. Those of you who follow the podcast, you know what the news and poem is. It's just a really short 4-line poem that I write every week about what's going on in the news. So here's what I got. Dem debates happened. End of round 2. Left much to be desired. Don't know about you. While we were making sense of the pandering, going through the drudges, Senate confirmed 13 more Trump judges. That's this week's news and poem. And this is Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. That means you guys send me articles, you send me ideas, and that's how we build the show. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the debates and what happened last night, although we did a full debate post-game breakdown last night on this channel. That was myself and Pasta from the Convo Couch and Fiorello from the Convo Couch. It was a fun time. You know, we're all in the same neighborhood, so we collaborate. I did their debate coverage over on their Twitch channel, and then after we came over to my channel and did a breakdown. Hopefully we'll do more collaborative stuff like that in the future. I hope you all enjoyed it. But song of the day, Edwin reminded me that today would have been Jerry Garcia's birthday. So Edwin recommended a classic for today, and I do not object. I think it's a great choice. Truckin' by the Grateful Dead. Classic Grateful Dead tune, classic psych rock tune. It has a driving force kind of a la The Doors. It's just great classic rock, great psych rock, fuses those genres the way the Grateful Dead was so famous for doing. And it's just a classic. If you're not familiar with the Grateful Dead, it's a great start because it's a pretty, what's the right word for it? Kind of like a more easy to digest. If you're not familiar with them, it's a good first intro track. If you're a Dead fan, revisit a classic today. I appreciate the Dead. I'm not the biggest Dead connoisseur, but I've appreciated them a little more as the years have gone on. I certainly respect what they do a lot, and I respect what they're all about. They're not my favorite classic rock band. I'm more of a Doors guy. I'm more of a Jethro Tull guy. I'm more of a Who guy. I'm more of a Beatles guy. I'm more of a, those are kind of like, I'm a big Springsteen guy. You know that about me. But I certainly respect the Dead a lot. And I respect what they're all about. And Truckin' is a great tune. It is a tune that I enjoy very much. And great suggestion, Edwin. And thank you for the reminder that it is would have been Jerry Garcia's birthday. Rest in power, Jerry Garcia. He died in 95, which I didn't realize it had been that long. For some reason, I thought he died when I was like in college. But it's been a while. It's been a while since Jerry Garcia has been with us. So anyway, guys, the debates last night. My overall assessment, I was a little bored. I thought it got boring after a while. I thought that the winner was Tulsi Gabbard. I thought she had a pretty strong showing. There were some parts of her that I was a little disappointed by. I felt her closer could have been stronger. But I thought she did a good job when she went after Kamala, and that's gaining steam on the blogosphere, which is good. Unfortunately, Kamala was able to deflect that. Why was Kamala able to deflect that and not actually address Tulsi's criticisms? Because the moderators weren't doing their jobs. Oh, wait, I retract that. The moderators were doing their jobs. Their job was, hey, this is the Kamala Harris show. I don't know if you guys noticed. It was exactly what we talked about yesterday morning. It unrolled exactly how we thought it was going to unroll. I said, Kamala Harris, it's going to be the Kamala Harris show. She is the anointed one by the establishment right now. Joe Biden, this is his last chance. If he blows it again, ship sailed for Joe Biden. All that establishment momentum is going to go to Kamala Harris. Joe Biden blew it again, like pretty much all of us knew he would. Even at the end, he sounded like he was trying to plug his website and he just started plugging a landline. He just seemed lost and confused. So Biden, I think, is pretty much, he's not going to leave anytime soon, but the winds are out of his sails as far as the establishment is concerned. Kamala Harris is the establishment's anointed one. The Wall Street money is going to start going there. She's going to start getting those big checks. She's going to start getting those big dinners. Pete Buttigieg is still going to get some of that as well, but not as much compared to Kamala Harris. And I don't know if you notice, the rules didn't apply to Kamala Harris. Everyone else, they said that they were going to be real strict with the speaking time on CNN. They're like, oh, if you go over the speaking time, we're gonna penalize you. You're going to have less speaking time next time. They never enforced that with Kamala Harris. Never once. Eventually, if she kept talking and talking and talking, eventually they'd be like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. But they never actually cut her off. Y2K Ray Cray said, I don't think she deflected well at all. I think people watching saw that she had no answer. I think some people did, yes. It wasn't a great deflection, no. But as far as like, will everybody notice that? It's tough to say. It's tough to say. The issue was that she was able to just deflect and just go back to Biden, and nobody called her on it. It's a moderator's job to say, no, you didn't answer the question that you were just asked by Tulsi Gabbard. You just completely ignored that question, went right over to Biden. Nobody called her out for that. And that's by design. Okay, but here's something I do want to share. Here's what happened over in the Google Trends. Check this out. So this is a Google trend before and after the Dem debate candidates in search. So check this out. This is ahead of debate 2. These were the most searched Democratic candidates. Joe Biden kind of led the pack. People were trying to remember, like, oh, what's he all about? He was Obama's guy. So I get it. That makes sense. Kamala Harris, California, her home state. I kind of get that. Tulsi Gabbard had a few where she was leading the pack. And then Cory Booker. This is random. Cory Booker, Wyoming. For some reason, folks in Wyoming were like, Cory Booker, what's that guy's deal? And you know how I feel about Cory. I think Cory Booker forgets he's running for president until there's a debate. I'm pretty sure he does not know that he's running for president. I think he gets a reminder. I think that Cory Booker on Tuesday, someone was like, oh, a debate happened. How'd that go? And they were like, well, you're up tomorrow night. And he's like, oh, I'm still in this thing. And they're like, yeah, you're still. He's like, all right, someone give me some napkins. I got to take some notes. I got to come up with an idea. Now, every time Cory Booker spoke, pretty much every time, He just said, Trump's bad. That's pretty much all he said. They should have just not allowed him to speak and just given him a T-shirt that said Trump's bad and he could just point to it. He had absolutely nothing to add, nothing to say. It was pathetic how grossly unprepared he was. But he's an establishment-friendly candidate, so he can get away with stuff like that, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Even in his closer, I don't know if you noticed, 2 people in their closer, they stalled. They straight up stalled because they had nothing to say. Joe Biden was one of them. Cory Booker was the other one. In fact, as far as closing statements went, and I'm talking strictly from a debate standpoint here, I thought Andrew Yang actually had the strongest closing statement. I thought all the closing statements were actually very weak. And I thought Andrew Yang had by far the strongest closing statement. And again, I'm speaking strictly from a debate standpoint here. And I thought he did a lot better than he did in the first one. I do think Tulsi Gabbard had the overall strongest performance, but somebody who's coming in a close second here, and again, I'm talking strictly from a debate standpoint. I'm not a fan of this candidate at all, but Kirsten Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand did have a very strong performance, I thought, from a debate standpoint. She made the most of all of her talking points. She hit her points well. She had a couple comedy moments. Again, strictly debate rhetoric standpoint, Kirsten Gillibrand did have a strong showing. But here's what happened. Let's go back to the Google Trends here before we jump over to that. So this is before debate number 2. What happened after debate number 2? Wow. That's Tulsi Gabbard in the blue there. All 50 states. Tulsi Gabbard. Now, here's what this trend's great. So check this out. Look. People are blaming bots. And people are blaming Russia. Here, let me find somewhere where people blame Russia. Russia working hard tonight. It's unbelievable. It's never going to get. They're blaming Russia. Not the fact that, oh, she raised some points no one else was raising. She brought up some things nobody else was bringing up. She had a decent showing, so people were trying to find out more about her. She doesn't have a ton of name recognition yet. That's very true. So it makes sense that when she has a strong showing in debates, people are like, hey, I want to learn more about this person. And yet people are still, it's Russia. It's Russia. Why would Russia try to affect the Google? It just makes zero sense on so many levels. But man, it is not going away. But so anyway, here is what I said about Kirsten Gillibrand. One thing I will give to Kirsten Gillibrand, the biggest loser in last night's campaign, or excuse me, last night's debate campaign. Yeah, it's going to be a long campaign. The biggest loser in last night's debate, in my opinion, was Bill de Blasio. I think Bill de Blasio's done. I think it is over. And it is over because of when Kirsten Gillibrand grilled him. Kirsten Gillibrand grilled Bill de Blasio. De Blasio could not handle it. He melted. And protesters confronted him too. Let's go to this article from Democracy Now! Protesters confront New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio over Eric Garner's death. There were other protesters at Wednesday debate as several activists shouted "Fire Pantaleo" while New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio wrapped up his opening statement. It was a reference to Daniel Pantaleo, the New York police officer who murdered Eric Garner, as Garner grasped "I can't breathe" 11 times. Pantaleo has remained on the police force ever since. So here's what Mayor Bill de Blasio said. The Garner family is going to get justice. There's finally going to be justice. I have confidence in that. Well, guess what, Bill de Blasio? A lot of other people in this country don't have confidence in that. And the reason they don't have confidence in that is because of people like you. Because of people like you who showed such poor leadership, who didn't even fire Pantaleo. We don't have confidence that the Garner family is going to get justice. And the reason we don't is because of people like you. So you should drop out of this race because it's disgusting. Your own city doesn't want you to run. In fact, New York called and they said, hey, de Blasio, we see you're in Michigan. Do us all a favor. Stay there. And Michigan said, why would you do that to us? Come on now. New York, we're buddies. What did we do to deserve this? And New York was like, fair point, but we don't want him back. And they're like, can't he just go? Look, the border's not too far. Go up to Canada. Stay there, de Blasio. But I think de Blasio done. And Kirsten Gillibrand, I am not a Gillibrand fan at all. I'm not a fan of her at all as a candidate. But I will tip my hat to her. She ended Bill de Blasio's campaign last night. She not single-handedly, but she ended it. She was the one that drove that nail in the coffin that is his campaign. And I got to applaud her for that. Still not a big fan of her. Don't get me wrong. As a candidate, not a fan. But I got to applaud her for doing that in the debate. So, de Blasio, you're done. And it's a good thing you're done. All right. I don't know if he'll have the self-awareness drop out right away, but it's going to happen. Now, while we're talking about all this and while we were distracted by the debates and the sporting event, and again, I'm guilty of participating, this happened. And I'm sure the media is going to be all over this. I'm sure you're going to hear about this nonstop on MSNBC and all the corporate outlets. The Senate confirms 13 Trump judges ahead of the August break. Happy first of the month, by the way. Happy first of the month. I hope everything's going okay. I hope as of the recording of this, it's the first. Hope everyone's paying their bills. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope everyone has some left in the bank for leisurely activities. I hope you're all doing okay. But the Senate, before the August recess, they wanted to make the most of it and confirm 13 Trump judges. All right, let's take a look at this article from The Hill. The Senate confirmed 13 of President Trump's judicial picks this week, helping clear the deck ahead of the 5-week August recess. The nominees were split up throughout the week, with 4 confirmation votes taking place on Tuesday, 9 on Wednesday, 3 of which were 5 voice votes. Yesterday, the Senate confirmed one of these. So this is what Christopher Kang, the chief counsel for We Demand Justice, has to say about this. He wasn't happy with the Democrats for allowing a judicial nominee who wouldn't say if Brown v. Board of Education was correctly decided. Brown v. Board of Education. It ended school segregation. There's a judge who was just appointed, who was just confirmed. That's not even sure that was the right decision. Man, what a wonderful path we're on as a nation. What a wonderful, 20 years from now, they're going to be like, okay, so the Senate just voted to confirm 13 judges from President Nazi McGunface, and one of them's not convinced that the Holocaust was a bad thing. One of them's not really convinced the Holocaust was a bad thing. Also, another one not convinced slavery was all that big of a deal. Kind of thinks maybe we should go back to that. Those are the judges that we just confirmed from President Nazi McGunface. And the Democrats helped rush it through. Because keep in mind, here, we'll go back to the article here again for a second. Keep in mind that the Democrats came under intense fire from progressive activists last year when they agreed to speed up votes on Trump's judicial picks ahead of breaks in August and October. Democrats argued that at the time that the nominees were going to get confirmed anyway, and speeding up votes allowed vulnerable incumbents just more time on the campaign trail. A lot of those incumbents went on to lose. And what should have been a blue bloodbath was a blue trickle. It wasn't a wave, it was a trickle. I know people love tying it up and put a bow on it, saying it was some huge victory. It wasn't. The midterms were a lukewarm shift at best, a shift that you can pretty much count on due to fatigue towards the White House. So there you go. 13 more of those judges. One of them's not convinced ending school segregation was the right thing. This is all right. Maybe this is moonshine. Huh? Maybe it is. It's water. It's water. Trust me, it's water. End the clip there, Joe. All right. So there's that. And Trump said some things about Baltimore, which, we were just in Baltimore. A lot of love to Baltimore. We had a fun show there. And he was saying those things about Baltimore, that Baltimore was rat infested. Well, and by the way, Christina shares this article. I want to mention that this is Christina's article. Trump was saying all these horrible things about Baltimore, that is rat infested, that is horrible. And, someone else brought this up. Imagine like you're a child living in Baltimore and you hear the president of the United States talk like that about where you live. I mean, that is pretty gross. Like, that is very, very gross. And I know the media spends way too much attention on Trump's outrageous rhetoric. Look, Trump's a jerk. We know it. He talks terribly. He says horrible things all the time. He is the GOP unmasked. This is how horrible and disgusting the GOP is. The GOP would let Baltimore rot. Most Democrats would go along with it. Trump takes off the mask for that. He calls it like it is. It's disgusting. It's repulsive, but maybe it's taking off the Band-Aid that we need. In fact, it is taking off the Band-Aid. That's what it is. And maybe we needed, as a country, we needed this wake-up call. Because when people try to make it out like Trump's some rogue, like Trump's some exception to the rule, no. Trump is the rule. Trump's just another plutocrat. He was just on the other side of the aisle buying the politicians. Then he decided, I'll let myself be bought for a while. He is the GOP unmasked. When people try to make it out like Trump's different from the rest of the GOP, like, oh, civility. Even the GOP doesn't like him. He's given that party a bad name. No, that party is repulsive and disgusting beyond measure. Noam Chomsky refers to the GOP as one of the greatest threats to humankind. Trump is just their policies personified. He's just their policies minus subtlety. That's all he is. And why is the GOP so repulsive? Because they have no opposition. Because when you give people two choices, a center right-wing party and a fringe right-wing party, that fringe right-wing party can go hella nuts. That's why. So no, Trump is the result of our system. He is a symptom of the bigger disease that is our political system. But here's something that The Root calls him out for. Let me go over to the article here. And this is from Christina, by the way. Trump claims, Baltimore is rat-infested. He should talk to his slumlord son-in-law, whose Charm City properties are trash. Whoa. Some harsh language there from Stephen A. Crockett Jr. So if President Trump was really concerned about the condition of Baltimore neighborhoods, instead of tweeting about it, he could have walked from the Oval Office into his son-in-law's makeshift suite inside the White House and told him to fix it. That's because Jared Kushner and Kushner's family businesses, the New York-based Kushner Companies, owns thousands of apartments in and around Baltimore. And the Associated Press notes that many of them are trash. So there you go. And that's a fun for instance, isn't it? Really, doesn't that just show you the ruling class and then the rest of us? Here you have Donald Trump, leader of the free world, crapping all over a city. Meanwhile, his son-in-law's a slumlord that's helping that city struggle. That's making it more difficult for that city to get a leg up. And Baltimore, I mean, the city's information, their municipal information is being held hostage right now. Literally, they had a hack. The city doesn't want to do anything about it, so municipal services are just kind of going along. Nobody knows when they're going to get billed or what's going to happen. There was a scandal where I believe it was the mayor was forcing people to buy her children's book, which was rot with a bunch of spelling errors and was a terrible children's book. Baltimore's got its issues. They need help. And President Trump's idea of helping is just poo-pooing them publicly and then allowing his family to continue to be slumlords. Have-nots. And that's what we're dealing with. Thank you for sharing that article, Christina. Much appreciated. So we're going to go here now. Ken shares this. Ken over Long Beach. He shared this on our Reddit subsection. This is kind of interesting. And we're going to go through this here. This is concerning cars. Car company's surprising deal with California on environmental rules explained. All right, so what's going on here? 4 companies work with California to set tougher standards for themselves. Interesting. And there's a picture of the lovely LA traffic. I spend a lot of time on these roads, folks. A lot of time. The usual script of industry resisting environmental relations flipped last week in California. Major auto industry players reached a surprise deal with state officials to enact tougher fuel economy rules circumventing the federal EPA that is working to weaken them. First reported by the Washington Post, the California Air Resources Board, alongside Ford Motor Company, Volkswagen AG, Honda Motor Company, and BMW, agreed to increase fuel economy of their fleets 3.7% year over year. All right, so this is a huge deal for the U.S. auto sector. And the agreement has major implications for the environment. U.S. greenhouse gas emissions are growing, and transportation is now the largest source of carbon dioxide. Light-duty vehicle comprise 20% of all U.S. emissions. All right. So here's the question. Why did the major car companies deliberately go out of their way to negotiate more stringent rules for themselves when the Trump administration was going easier on them? Which that's always a question we got to ask here in the U.S., here in the corporatocracy that is the U.S. Why would a corporation do something that actually helps anything except for their bottom line? Why would they do that? Certainly not out of the goodness of their heart, and I'm sure it's not out of the goodness of their heart. Well, let's find out why. Why are they doing this? The answer ties together the strange forces behind the U.S. auto industry right now, from the Trump administration's trade war with China and Mexico to growing concerns about climate change to the rise of electric vehicles. Car companies are desperate for stability, and the fact that the four automakers would take the initiative to reach an accord with California shows they are preparing for a world without Trump. Interesting. California has had an exemption under the Federal Clean Air Act since 1968 to set its own rules for vehicle emissions, and they're often stricter than those set by the EPA. So here's the positive takeaway here. The positive takeaway here is that what this is all short for, the industry is recognizing that we're moving towards more environmental sustainability, so they're accepting it and they're getting on board with it. This is a good thing. They're just doing it for their own bottom line. They're just doing it because it's an inevitability, but they're recognizing, hey, environmental sustainability is happening. It's going to happen once Trump's out of office, so we might as well start adapting our products now. That's a good thing. That's a positive trend in our country. Are these four companies going to lead the way? No. Are they still going to go down with the ship when it comes to our dependency on fossil fuels? Yes, that's all true. I'm not trying to give them a pass here or some big pat on the back or say that they're leading our environmental efforts. They're not. But it is good when you see companies like this recognize the inevitability that we're moving towards a more environmentally sustainable future, because we're either going to do that or we ain't going to be here all that much longer. So that's a good thing. That's a positive to take away from this. Do these companies deserve some big pat on the back? No, they're still looking out for the bottom line above all else. But they are recognizing that they need to adapt and build more electric vehicles, or they're going to go the way of the buffalo. So that's a good thing. We can take a positive away from that. All right. Thank you, Ken, for sharing that article. Now, so this article is kind of a funny article, and we're going to end the show with this one, and then we're going to talk some more about the debates and anything else you guys want to talk about to end the week here. But Edwin shares this. Edwin, who also gave us our song of the day, which thank you for that. Again, the song of the day is Truckin' by the Grateful Dead, because today would have been Jerry Garcia's birthday. But Edwin shares this, and he says, hey, by the way, Ron, I am married. I'm not trying to discourage marriage. He said that because some of you guys know this is about me. I am engaged. I am engaged to be married. And Edwin said, hey, look, Ron, I'm married too. I'm not trying to discourage marriage, but here's some news, and here's something interesting. Woman turns 107. This happened, I guess, technically yesterday. And she shares her secret to longevity. I never got married. Let's learn her story. There's Luis Senor. And this, so this happened yesterday. She turned 107 years old. She looks fantastic for 107. Seriously. I would guess this woman was like maybe 80, like 82 or 83 years old. That would be what I would guess for Luis right here. I would guess she was like in her 80s. She is 107. That is very, very impressive. Some of you guys know this too about me. I lost my grandmother last year. She made it to 101. She too. She looked fantastic for 101. You never would have guessed. She looked older than Louise did. Like you would have guessed. I think people would have guessed my grandmother would have been in about her mid to late 80s. I would say she looked slightly older than Louise did. But she still, for 101, she looked fantastic. You never would have guessed. And with how sharp she was, you never would have guessed she was 101. Read the newspaper every day up until she died. She would go in and out a little bit. Like occasionally she would kind of forget who you were and stuff like that. But she still had moments where she was very sharp and very with it. In fact, at the Thanksgiving table, the last Thanksgiving she had with us right before she died, my dad, it's been a tradition as long as I can remember. My dad will put chestnuts in the oven after dinner to have with dessert. He will forget about the chestnuts and he will burn them. That happens. Like we make jokes about it at this point. My dad's gotten better over the years. He's been using his cell phone, stuff like that. Some of us have been trying to help, although in fairness, we all forget too. Because at that point, we're all incredibly full of food and we're all ready for dessert. And we're all having coffee, maybe even a little whiskey. You get we all forget. Everybody forgets. My dad's been trying to be a little more militant about it, setting alarms on his phone, stuff like that. The last year that we had my grandmother with us before she passed, 101 years strong, rest in power, grandmother. But she remembered the chestnuts. Everybody forgot once again. My dad was like, hey, somebody, 10 minutes, mention the chestnuts. Everybody forgot. After about 10 minutes or so, my grandmother goes, hey, the chestnuts. She remembered. My 101-year-old grandmother. Everybody else forgot, but she remembered. Anyway, so let's get to this story. Let's hear Louise's story. A woman who celebrated her 107th birthday shared her secret. Stay single. Louise Senior, who lives in Bronx in New York, maintains a healthy diet and exercises regularly, but she believes the real reason why she's enjoyed more than a century is because she never tied the knot. If they have exercise, I do the exercise. If they have dancing, I dance. Still do a little dancing. After my lunch, I play bingo, so I had a full day, Senior told CNN affiliate WCBS. I think the secret to 107, I never got married. I think that's the secret. My sister says that she wishes that she never got married. So Louise's sister is 102 years old. So longevity might, this is according to the article, longevity might run in the family. You think CNN? Wow, CNN, you can't put anything past them. Unless of course they're moderating a debate and their favorite candidate gets called out on something, then they'll allow the Kamala Harris show to continue. But otherwise, you can't pull. She's 101, or excuse me, 107. Her sister's 102. This might be a family thing. Yeah, something might be in their genes. CNN. Wow. I know it's a feel-good article. I'm being a little hard, but whatever. It's CNN. So yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah. So she has a good diet. She exercises. She never got married. Her sister, who's only 102, she wishes she never got married. Good on you, Louise. All power to you. I wish you many more birthdays, and I'm glad that you're still living the good life. Shout out to you, Louise. All right. So let me go to you guys, see what y'all are saying, and that is how we will end the show for today. Yeah, you know the drill. Shout some of the Periscope folks. Happy August. Choral Rock Music wishes everybody a happy August. Deborah Carbon says that's the resistance. I think they're probably referring to our story about the 13 judges there. And Brian Arbor says there wasn't even an undertow, and I think that's referring to the blue trickle that wasn't quite a wave, but was more of a trickle. All right. What's up, everybody? First of all, thank you all for your Super Chat contributions. Inked Pixels, thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. By the way, everybody, go to LucyandRon.com. With the debates being held by corporate media, accurate and honest moderation during them is non-existent. It's all about cultivating a narrative, absolutely. And last night, the narrative they were trying to push through was, it's the Kamala Harris show. Scripts to clip for series and flicks. Thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Thanks again for last night. We really need to do something about CNN locking everyone out on YouTube. And for your fans, don't forget to vote for Fossil Joe in 3030. Yeah, you guys remember Joe Biden. He went to plug a website. He started saying a bunch of numbers. It was like he was clueless. And by the way, scripts to clips, I will respond to that. And I've said this before. If you've heard me say this before, I apologize. You're going to have to hear me repeat it. But what CNN doing, first of all, it is criminal. And we talked about this on the New Door show yesterday. It is criminal that they are trying to make a presidential debate their private property. That is criminal. In other countries, something like that's illegal. By the way, which some of you guys have been saying, hey, Ron, you keep mentioning how our media structure in the U.S. would be illegal in other places. Can you do a more elaborate story on that? Yes, I will. I will do a more elaborate story on that. So hold tight for that. That's going to happen. But second of all, this is cable news. This is their last-ditch effort at maintaining relevance. What they want with these events is they want their Super Bowl moment. What do I mean by their Super Bowl moment? So the network that airs the Super Bowl, they see a huge spike in their ratings for that Super Bowl because everybody watches the Super Bowl. Then at the end of the year, they use that big spike when they determine their average for the year, and then that average determines their ad rates for the next year. So maybe throughout the whole year, they're just kind of going like this as far as viewership goes. And then Super Bowl, boom, it goes like that. And then it's still like this. Well, the average is going to be up here because of that Super Bowl moment. Cable news networks are sinking like the Titanic. It's a slow sink, but it's a sink nonetheless. They need to hold on to relevancy. How do they do that? They get their Super Bowl moment so that their ad rates can still be high the following year. They're counting on these debates to be those Super Bowl moments. How do they assure those Super Bowl moments? They make sure that nobody else can air it. They get exclusivity. So that proves a couple things. First of all, it proves that the corporate media cares about profit and absolutely nothing else. The fact that they're trying to deny the public a presidential debate, they're trying to deny the public information on choosing the next leader of the free world, pretty much. That's criminal and void of any journalistic ethics. So whenever someone tells you that the corporate media actually cares about news, that's just a complete lie. That's just not true at all. And I have no, there is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. They are not news organizations. They are propaganda arms. And what they're doing to this country is criminal. And it should be illegal. The media structure we have should not be legal. It should be, because it's outlets posing as news and information outlets, and they're not news and information outlets. They have the right to disseminate whatever they want. They have freedom of speech just like everyone else. But people should know that, oh, this is just PR for Comcast. This is just Rupert Murdoch's wet dream. This is just Time Warner's arm. It should have a big Comcast Time Warner News Corp stamp on everything the corporate media publishes. It should just be right there. Boom. And it should also be everywhere that they advertise with oil and gas. Anyway. Charles Insolo, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. I worked in Baltimore. It's one of our great cities with great people. It suffers because of neglect, capitalist greed, and systemic racism. I agree, Charles. Thank you for the plug for Baltimore. I don't know if you were at our show, but oh, wait, you said you worked. You might not be there anymore. But we had a fun show in Baltimore. One of my best friends in the whole wide world lives in Baltimore. I got to visit him while I was there. I got to meet his kid for the first time. I got to see his dad, who's someone I grew up with, so it was really great getting to see him too. And I got to spend some time with him and his wife and his kid, and it was amazing. I had an amazing time in Baltimore. And you guys know, I've talked about this ever since my accident back in 2013. Seeing friends on the road is really helpful for me because sometimes I get some really bad anxiety. And seeing friends, it makes all the difference in the world. And during our East Coast tour, it was a long run. So the fact that I got to see some friends along the way really helped a lot. Anyway, Amar Furrier, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Can you talk about how obvious CNN was when they changed the discussion after Tulsi told the world that Trump supports Al-Qaeda? I don't remember the specific thing you're referring to in the debates. I mean, it was over a 2-hour debate. So I don't remember that specific, for instance, you're talking about, and I apologize for that. But yeah, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, same story. Those candidates, the candidates that are the outsiders, I guess Tulsi technically isn't an outsider because she's in office, but in many ways she's still an outsider. They had to fight for every moment of speaking time they got, and a lot of times the points that they were bringing up, pretty much every time for Tulsi, was deflected, and a lot of times her criticisms were against Gabbard. Gabbard deflected them. Nobody called her out for it. Nobody held her accountable for it. And it's because she's the establishment's anointed one. What we witnessed last night was very much the Kamala Harris show. And I got to say, it was a really boring show. All right. So thank you for that, Amir. Inks Pixels, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Grateful Dead notable tunes. Friend of the Devil, I love Casey Jones. That's a great tune. Shakedown Street, Box of Rain, and Touch of Gray. Sincerely, a child of two deadheads. Nice. You know, I have a similar thing. So I don't know, maybe your parents took you to Dead shows when you were a kid. You know, me and my dad, a thing that we experienced, because my dad loves baseball. I don't get it. I don't get baseball. When I played it as a kid, I was bad at it, and I just got bored by it. I didn't like it. I enjoy football. I enjoy American football. I enjoy hockey. I enjoy watching basketball. I went to my first professional basketball game recently. I went to the WNBA All-Star game with Graham Elwood. That's what we did before our show in Vegas. We went to the WNBA All-Star game. It was really cool. I've been to plenty of college basketball games, but I've never been to a professional basketball game. So anyway, I enjoy a lot of different sports. I play the Gaelic sport hurling. Some of you guys know that about me. It's kind of like lacrosse, but not really. But anyway, I play that sport. Never got into baseball. My dad loves baseball. Reason I bring all this up, when I was a kid, we didn't really bond over baseball games. We bonded over Jethro Tull concerts because I still am a big Jethro Tull fan, and we would go catch Jethro Tull. And it would often be a road trip for us because Jethro Tull, for years, when I was like coming up and when I was going to shows, Jethro Tull didn't come to Pittsburgh. And we all wondered, why is Jethro Tull not coming to Pittsburgh? So me and my dad, we went to Atlantic City to see Jethro Tull. We went to Baltimore. Actually, shout out to Baltimore again. The first time I got to see Jethro Tull was in Baltimore, Maryland. And I just remembered that. I saw Jethro Tull in Baltimore, Maryland with my dad. He took me. I was in 7th grade, and I was on a cloud. I was the biggest Jethro Tull fan. Never got to see them live. And my dad kept telling me, he was like, yeah, just so you know, they're a little older. Ian can't sing the way he used to. And I didn't care. Like he was kind of like trying to manage my expectations, which I understand. I think he was just trying to, do the right thing. Like he wanted me to know that if I expected them to go out there and rock out and jump around like they did in the 70s, that wasn't going to happen. And I understood that. It's not like I was so young I didn't understand the concept of age. I did. But they did not disappoint me. I had an amazing time. And then I also, right before the show, I had one of the best cannolis I ever had in my life. Maybe it was just because it was one of the earlier cannolis I've had. And cannoli is my favorite dessert. But I had such an amazing cannoli that night. So I have a lot of fond memories to Baltimore. I got a lot of love for Baltimore. And shame on Trump for trashing Baltimore. That wasn't right. So anyway, yeah, thank you for that Super Chat contribution. Guys, tour dates. Speaking of which, we're talking about the road. I got the tour dates. September, we're coming to the Northern Plains. We're coming to Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Iowa City, Iowa. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. November, Australia, we're coming. Tickets to Perth and Adelaide are available now. We should have tickets to Sydney and Melbourne very, very soon. Perth and Adelaide, tickets available now. Sydney and Melbourne, don't worry, we're coming. Tickets should be available very, very soon for those shows. That's in September, November. November 15th is Adelaide. November 22nd is Perth. Get your tickets now. I can't wait to see you down under in Australia. Oh, in December, I'm going to be in Hawaii with the Jimmy Dore Show, and Graham Elwood and myself are probably going to do a show on one of the other islands the night before Jimmy's show. So keep your eyes open there. ronplacone.com. I'll be announcing all that as soon as it goes on sale. And if you're going to the live Jimmy Dore Show on December 27th, I will see you there. And I'm excited for that. I've never been to Hawaii before. I'm stoked to go. Guys, you are awesome. Thank you very much. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For Give What You Can, Love What You get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album. And you help me expand the show. I want to do more streams. I want to do more collaborations. I want to do more debate breakdowns. I want to do more guests. I want to do more of all that stuff. And I need your help to do that. Patreon.com/ronplacone. You get all kinds of cool perks, and it's all for a Give What You Can level. So even if you just have $1 a month, it goes a long way. Please do consider it. Patreon.com/ronplacone. And please like these videos, share these videos, make sure you're subscribed. Play them in a separate window. Let the ads play through. Don't just do that for me. Do that for all the content creators you know and love. Guys, we did reach another threshold. We reached 20,000. I could not have done it without you. And I know everyone says that, and it's such a cliche. But for me, it's literally true. You guys build the show with me. You tweet me the articles. That's the purpose of Get Your News On with Ron. You're getting your news on with Ron. You guys tweet me the articles. You drop them in our Reddit subsection. When somebody asked, how do we get you an article? You tweet it to me at Ron Placone. Tweet it to me an hour before the show. That's the best time to do it. Or you drop it in our Reddit subsection, which is reddit.com/r/getyournewsonwithron. That's how I find the articles for the show. You guys pick what we talk about. So I could not have gotten here without you. We did this together. Thank you so much. Without you, the show couldn't exist. If nobody wanted to get their news on with Ron, it wouldn't exist. And I like this format. I like doing it this way. It's a lot of fun. So thank you. Thank you so much for saying to everybody that I like this show. It has value. I like getting my news this way. It makes me feel a little bit better being around a community of like-minded people, being around a group of people, and we unpack the news together. It makes a really depressing thing. Like getting the news is depressing. When you're with a community and you're poking fun at it, you're drawing connections to music and culture and art, and you're having discussion, it makes it a better experience. At least that's the way I feel. And obviously that's the way you guys feel too. And thank you for feeling that way. Thank you for allowing this show to exist. Thank you for helping us reach 20,000 subscribers. And here's to the next 20,000. Thank you so, so much. In fact, you know what? I got to do something really quick before we sign off. Hold that thought real quick. I'll be right back. I know you're sleeping. All right. Somebody was napping. But it's important. It's important. She wants to say thank you too. If she was awake, she would have said thank you. You know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace. Have an amazing weekend. We'll be back Monday. Same time, same channel. You know the drill. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on YouTube. Peace.